2 days of rain and you're already annoyed. By day 3, you're checking the weather app every hour, stuck inside, watching the walls close in. That's when you would have started to feel the strain. That never happened to early humans. Not because the rain bothered them less. A multi-week rain event was one of the most dangerous recurring threats they faced. Cold, wet, no dry firewood, children losing body heat by the hour. But they did not spiral the way you would. They had systems, solutions, knowledge passed down for this exact scenario, refined over tens of thousands of years. What they actually did during weeks of rain is more sophisticated than almost anyone assumes. Here is the part most people get wrong first. Rain does not need to be freezing to become lethal. Wet skin loses heat far faster than dry skin because water conducts heat away from the body roughly 25 times faster than air does. A person can develop hypothermia in temperatures as mild as 50 degrees Fahrenheit if they stay wet long enough. Not a blizzard, not a storm, just persistent, ordinary rain given enough time to work. For a group without walls, without dry clothing, without a way to escape the wet, that fact was not trivia. It was the single most important survival equation of the season. So the first job during a multi-week rain event was never shelter in the abstract. It was fire. Specifically, keeping fire alive through conditions actively trying to kill it. We know ancient humans were capable of sustained, deliberate fire use far earlier than most people assume. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, researchers found microscopic evidence of controlled burning dating back roughly 1 million years, ash and burned bone preserved deep inside the cave, far from where lightning or wildfire could have reached. And at Qesem Cave in Israel, archaeologists identified something even more specific. A large central hearth repeatedly used roughly 300,000 years ago. Not a single fire. 2 full use cycles layered directly on top of each other. Evidence of a group returning to the exact same hearth over and over, maintaining it as a fixed point in their world. That detail matters enormously for a week of rain. A hearth like that was not something you started from scratch every evening. It was something you protected, fed slowly, shielded from wind and water with stone, hide, and careful placement deep inside a shelter so that even when the sky outside did not stop for days, the coals underneath never fully went cold. But protecting fire during rain required more than just choosing a good spot. It required understanding fuel in a way that modern people almost never have to think about. Wet wood does not burn well. Everyone who has tried to start a campfire after a storm already knows this. Ancient humans solved it the same way. Experienced outdoor survivalists solve it today by never relying on found wood alone. Dry tinder, resin-rich wood, and fire-starting materials were gathered and stored ahead of time, kept inside shelters specifically so a wet week would not leave a group without options. This was not improvisation in the moment. It was preparation from the last dry stretch, done with the next wet stretch already in mind, which raises the deeper point. A multi-week rain event was not treated as an emergency. It was treated as a known, recurring part of the yearly cycle, something to be planned for in advance, the same way modern households stock a pantry before a predicted storm. The difference is that ancient preparation was not seasonal panic. It was routine, fire solved warmth. But rain created a second problem, almost as dangerous, the ground itself. At Sibudu Cave in South Africa, archaeologists led by Lynn Wadley uncovered something remarkable. Layers of plant bedding dating back roughly 77,000 years, made from sedges and rushes gathered from a nearby river, then deliberately topped with aromatic leaves containing natural insect-repelling chemicals. This was not casual ground cover. It was constructed, refreshed. And critically, the researchers found that the bedding was periodically burned and replaced in an intentional maintenance cycle to keep a living space usable over time. Think about what that means for a week of continuous rain. A damp cave floor does not just feel unpleasant. It breeds insects, mold, and disease, and it strips heat from anyone lying on it. A group that understood how to build, maintain, and refresh dry bedding was not just being comfortable. They were actively defending against the ground itself, becoming a health hazard during the exact stretch of days when everyone was forced to spend the most time on it. Fire. Dry ground. Both were engineering problems, and both had been solved for tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote anything down. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because staying alive was never the whole story. A group forced together for days in a confined space with limited physical activity available faces a problem that has nothing to do with temperature. It is a psychological and social problem. And the archaeological record suggests ancient humans had an answer for this too, one hiding inside something as simple as firelight. Anthropologist Polly Weissner spent years recording conversations among the Juhonsi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to a traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyle. She found something the modern world has almost entirely forgotten. Daytime conversation was practical. Logistics, complaints, negotiations, day-to-day business, but firelit conversation, extended by flame into hours the sun would never have allowed, shifted into something completely different. Stories, myths, songs, accounts of distant people and events. Weissner's research suggests this nighttime storytelling function was not incidental. It was one of the primary engines by which culture itself got built and passed forward. Now picture what that means for a week, trapped indoors by rain. Hunting was impossible. Gathering was limited. The ordinary rhythm of the day was gone. What remained was firelight, close quarters, and an enormous stretch of unstructured time. And the evidence suggests that instead of that time becoming dead weight, it became the richest social and cultural period of the entire cycle. More stories, more songs, more of the deep cultural material that held a group together, precisely because there was nothing else to compete for attention. A week of rain, in other words, was not simply endured, it was used. This is the piece almost nobody accounts for when they imagine ancient humans sitting miserably at the edge of a cave waiting for the weather to pass. They were not waiting. They were maintaining fire built to survive exactly this. Refreshing bedding built to survive exactly this. And filling the hours with the exact kind of deep social bonding that modern comfortable lives rarely make room for at all. Compare that to what actually happens to you after 2 or 3 days of rain. You do not lose access to warmth, food, or shelter. Every single one of those problems was solved for you before you were born. What you lose is structure. Your commute disappears. Your routine dissolves. Your plans get canceled. And the boredom that follows is not a failure of character. It is your brain encountering unstructured time it has almost no practice strategy for handling, because for most of your life, something external has always filled that space for you. Ancient humans never had that problem, not because they were tougher, but because unstructured time inside a shelter was never actually unstructured for them. Fire needed tending, bedding needed refreshing. You will never have to rebuild a bed of sedges and aromatic leaves to keep insects and damp from destroying your family's health. But the boredom, the restlessness, the strange, heavy feeling of days with nothing external to fill them, that part never went away. It just lost its purpose.